You and your friends are deciding whether to book a flight from London to Paris for an upcoming long weekend. What factors will you consider when booking this flight? The price, your income, how much does a Eurostar cost instead? All these factors determine your demand for the flight, so let's have a look. Demand refers to a consumer's desire to purchase a good or service along with their willingness to pay for it. Holding all other factors constant, ceteris paribus, there is an inverse relationship between the price of a good or service and the quantity demanded. What does this mean? Well, more often than not, if the price of something increases, quantity demanded for it will decrease as it becomes more expensive, and vice versa. If the price of something falls, it becomes cheaper, so you're more likely to demand it, and quantity demanded increases. Let's take the price of a flight from London to Paris, for example. If the flight was £200, which is quite expensive for this journey, perhaps only 25 people would book it, those that really needed to make the trip. Say the price fell to £150 maybe, which is a bit more reasonable. Maybe 50 people would book this flight. At £100, more people would be tempted to book, and maybe in this case 75 people choose to do so. Finally, if the price fell to £50, this is a total bargain and even more people would be tempted by a cheap holiday, so maybe 100 people would book. If we look to our graph, this results in a downward sloping demand curve. It's important to note that any change in the price of a flight would cause a movement along the demand curve. For example, a fall in the price from £150 to £50 would cause an increase in passengers from 50 to 100. Movements along the demand curve happen only when the price of a good changes. So what happens when other factors of demand for a flight change, but the price of the flight stays the same? These factors cause shifts in the demand curve. Let's take a look at the impact of some other non-price factors of demand. Take income, for example. If consumer income increased and all other things remained equal, then they would have more money available to spend on flights. This would cause a rightward shift in the demand curve from D1 to D2. At each price level, there are more passengers willing to book this flight due to their higher income. If consumer income decreased, however, this would cause a leftward shift in the demand curve from D1 to D3, and less passengers would be willing to book at every price level. Another factor influencing the demand for this flight from London to Paris is the price of alternative modes of transport. These are known as substitutes. If the price of the Eurostar train, which also runs from London to Paris, falls, then passengers may be more inclined to take the Eurostar instead of a flight. This would cause demand for our flight to fall from D1 to D2. And vice versa, if the price of a Eurostar ticket increases, then passengers may be more inclined to take a flight. This would cause demand for the flight to increase from D1 to D3. Another determinant of demand would be the price of complements. What would be a complement to a flight? Well, usually when booking a trip, we book flights as well as some form of accommodation like a hotel, so hotels could be seen as a complement to flights. If the price of the hotel you really want to stay at increases, then you may be less likely to take the holiday altogether, so your demand for the flight falls from D1 to D2. However, if your favourite hotel goes down in price, then this may entice you further to definitely take the trip, and so your demand for the flight increases from D1 to D3. So the price of substitutes like trains and the price of complements like hotels can also influence your desire to take the flight. Finally, advertising and trends can have a massive impact on your willingness to book this flight. You know, all those sponsored posts on your Insta feed of incredible travel views? influencers constantly posting their breakfast views of the Eiffel Tower, and all your friends talking about their summer travel plans. Well, higher advertising and more prominent travel trends can cause an increase in your demand for this flight too, and vice versa. Less advertising could cause you to reduce your demand for wanting to go to Paris in the first place, and so your willingness to book this flight would reduce and your quantity demanded would fall from D1 to D3. An easy acronym to remember is ISCA: income, substitute prices, complement prices, and advertising. These are just some of the most common causes of shifts in the demand curve for a good or service. So well done, guys. Now it's over to you to put into practice everything you've learned in the last 5 minutes or so, because it's question time. So, if Snapchat and Instagram were considered substitutes to one another and you had to pay for both services, then what would happen to the demand for Instagram if the price of Snapchat increased significantly? Is it A, B, C, or D? Drop your answer in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, guys, if you enjoyed this, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe to be notified of new videos.